at JM in the AM. Well, there's an important charity with a D campaign going on. And that is the Charidy Campaign, CHARIDY.com/TVA26. TVA is the Yeshivat Torah Avoda in Jerusalem, the holy city of Yerushalayim. I will admit I have a personal connection there, and I've seen its growth. I've seen the impact it's made, and I've seen how amazing so many of their alumni are. And with us live via telephone is Rabbi Yehuda Seif, who's the Rosh Yeshiva and executive director of both Midreshet and Yeshivat Torah Avoda in Jerusalem. Rabbi Seif, a pleasure to welcome you back to JM in the AM.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Reb Yehoshua Segal, I told you I have a personal connection. He's director of YTVA. He's director of the Yeshiva. He joins us for this conversation as well. Reb Yehoshua, welcome to JM in the AM.
Thank you very much. A pleasure to be back here.
The campaign officially is the 29th and 30th of April. That's today and tomorrow. They are trying to raise $1.25 million in these 24 hours to continue the great work of MTVA, the Midreshet, YTVA, the Yeshiva, all under the auspices of an organization and a movement that's extremely important and dear to our hearts, and that's, of course, Bnei Akiva. Big shout-out to all of the different divisions and programs within Bnei Akiva. They are making a tremendous impact. One would think all these years later, are they still making an impact? And boy, oh boy, they are making quite an impact. Rabbi Seif, let's start with the Yeshiva. First of all, how are things going? It's now toward the end of the school year. It's toward the end of the stay that the young men are going to be having in their year post-high school, the year they're spending at YTVA. How would you evaluate the way things have been going so far this year?
Baruch Hashem, really proud of our guys. They've grown tremendously, meaning it hasn't been a simple year with with missiles flying, and our guys have stepped up in such incredible ways. They've, every time they felt like in any way that, that they were in danger, they leaned in to more Torah, more chesed, more connection to Am Yisrael. And they grew tremendously, meaning it was amazing to see their growth despite and because of everything that was going on around them.
It's interesting to us as observers over the last few years. It seems like the yeshiva in general has just grown in so many different areas. I know that the Hesder program continues to expand, and that's something you're very proud of. And I know that the yeshiva in general is getting, I think we would say, a record number of applicants, and that translates into a record number of participants. I mean, what's happening now in 2026 that YTVA is such a school, such a yeshiva of choice for parents and students from North America?
I think we've seen that the deep connection, the idea that, we are unabashedly in favor of connecting deeply to Eretz Yisrael, to Medinat Yisrael. And I think that vision has really inspired our community. And we've had, we launched our Hesder program October 15th, 2023.
Right.
It was 8 days after October 7th. That's when our Hesder program launched. It wasn't planned that way, but that's when our first group of Hesdernikim went in, which is that they're combining 18 months of learning Torah with 18 months in the IDF. And we've had, since then, we've had nearly 100 Hesder Chayalim who've come through our system. We have 70 who are active right now, whether it's in Gaza, whether it's in Lebanon, whether it's in Judea and Samaria, meaning wherever they are, they're having a huge impact. And they come back, they have an off Shabbos, they have, a couple days off, they're back in the yeshiva learning, and that inspires the next generation. When a Shana Aleph guy sees a guy in their uniform who their first stop is a base medrash, it inspires them to say, wow, I could be more, I can contribute in a more meaningful way, I can live a life that's full of, it's dripping with meaning, and cause them to rethink what their future looks like. And that's been really inspiring to see.
Yeah, you've done it really well, I can tell you that much. If you want to affect it, if you want to affect in a positive way the future of Am Yisrael, this is a good institution to support everybody. It's on our list of recommendations. The Charidy Campaign will be officially live in a couple of hours. It's going to be the full day today and tomorrow as they try to reach $1.25 million. We're announcing this link, charidy.com/TVA26. If our guests want to direct people to a different address, they'll feel free to do so in a moment. But at charidy.com/TVA26, and we're hoping that they get to the goal. Rabbi Seif, we should mention, just so people realize, and I know how hard it is to get matchers. It's not an easy thing to do. But because of the worldwide impact that your schools, your yeshivot have, it's obvious that there are people, willing to step up. So every single dollar that is donated during this 2-day campaign is going to be matched. So, simply put, 180 is 360, 500 is 1,000, 1,000 is 2,000, etc. And you must have a really good base of support that you're able to put together that type of campaign.
Yeah, I think the idea is that it's much more than a one-year program. This is impacting so much beyond. Our female students, they stay to do Shirut Leumi. Many of our students who go back to the States are ambassadors on campus, fighting against anti-Semitism that we're seeing. They're leaders in their Jewish community. We're trying to really think of this not just as a one-year program that we've impacted them and then we say goodbye, but it's something that they're part of our family and they're part of a movement and they're part of a whole cycle. And the fact that we're part of YTVA and they they have the camps and they have their summer programs and they're part of this year, meaning it's part of a whole outlook of life, a whole hashkafa, where they see themselves as how do I impact the Jewish community, how I can impact Am Yisrael and Medina Israel, and those who support us are able to impact those who impact. So they are also making an incredible impact.
Maybe that's the secret, and I'm sorry for thinking out loud on the air. But maybe that's the secret, that people like to support institutions that are not just one and done, so to speak, but institutions that are going to have a lifelong impact on the student, their families, their communities, wherever it is they go. And I think that that's the impression now that people get, is when someone's at YTVA or MTVA, they really are bringing along with them lifelong lessons that they're taking with them post school. From your teachers, your abayim, the atmosphere, etc. So maybe that's the impact that you're having, and maybe that's the reason why you guys are so hot these days, because people understand that it's a real commitment, a real investment in the future.
Yeah, we see this first year as just the beginning. Meaning, we have 8 different campuses where we have representatives, including a few in Israel. We have, we mentioned our Hesder program. We have a whole Shirut Leumi program for the young women. So, meaning, again, we really see this as the first step in a relationship that's really a lifelong relationship. And Baruch Hashem, I think our community around us, even in the community around us in the Katamon Baka area in Yerushalayim, we have so many families who take part. They host lone soldiers. They host our Benot Shirut. They've taken in and really been impacted and impact our community as well. And that's it's a really beautiful thing to see.
Now, I'm not going to ask you to analyze the way some of your colleagues in other yeshivot and seminaries dealt with last week. Let's emphasize the positive and the way you guys dealt with it. What was it like? It must have been very inspiring, especially this year, very inspiring and really heartwarming, participating in Yom HaZikaron and Yom HaAtzmaut with your students last week.
Yeah, Yom HaAtzmaut, they've had, a lot of our students have had a Yom HaAtzmaut in the States or, in North America, and they've had a party. The real difference that you can't ever replicate is a Yom HaZikaron. And our students who spend a Yom HaZikaron at Har Herzl or at Kfar Tzion Cemetery, and they see that every single Israeli is one step removed from that loss, and the deep, deep appreciation of the sacrifice that so many people have made to hand them Medina Israel on a silver platter. And that realization, that national realization, and standing with Am Yisrael in that time, and that transition from Yom HaZikaron to the incredible celebration. And we spent that celebration on a rooftop in the Old City. We had a beautiful tefillah chagigit together. And it was just, I mean, that power is amazing. And I think that transition is so different than everything that they will have. And whether they stay in Israel and they're able to experience that again, or they have a model for the rest of their lives of what that looks like, what a Yom HaZikaron in Medinat Yisrael looks like, to have a deep appreciation of the process of Geula that we're undergoing. I mean, that's unparalleled, and it was very, very special for our students.
A reminder to parents out there who are looking for yeshivot or seminaries for your children in Israel, that's a good place to start. Ask them head on how they dealt with last week and what it was like for the students on Yom HaZikaron, Israel Memorial Day, and Yom HaAtzmaut, Israel's 78th birthday. Rabbi Yehuda Seif, Reb Yehoshua Segal, both with us live via telephone from Israel, from the Holy City. I remind you that the Charidy Campaign is live. It's not officially started yet. It starts in a couple of hours, but all through the day today, Wednesday, and through the day tomorrow, they're going to be raising money to impact the future of Am Yisrael for these two great institutions and the incredible work that they're doing with Bnei Akiva. Charidy.com/TVA26. Again, charity with a D.com/TVA26. All right, Seif, I don't know if you have the stats in front of you, and I know that the campaign officially is not on really until the next couple of hours, although, again, people can donate right now at that address. Any idea if we're off to a good start or not?
I think, thank God, we're off to a great start. We our students have already been sending things out. We've already raised about $250,000.
Nice.
And so that's like a beautiful start before the campaign even starts. And we're hitting the ground running. It makes a big difference. Our students really get involved in the campaign. And we really see this as an educational message that our students, they believe in the mission. They feel connected to it. We feel that if they're going to be Jewish leaders in any type of circumstance, whether it's their shul or their school, one of the most important things they're going to have to learn is how to ask, and how to ask for partners and ask for those people to share in the mission that they have. So to start now and to have them learn that skill is an invaluable Jewish leadership skill that we try to train them already now.
Again, charity.com/TVA26. I did notice that Reb Yehoshua Segal's page, thank God, has some great contributions and some wonderful messages. He must be a very, very popular figure over there at TVA. Reb Yehoshua Segal, welcome to JM and the AM. Let me ask you this. You do see the students and interact with them, obviously, on a daily and a regular basis. How has this year changed some of them? They come in, excuse the expression, spoiled American kids. Some people may resent the way I say that. They come in September, and they end up participating in a society that's under fire, where they are constantly running to shelter, where some of them couldn't go where they wanted to go for the break during the month of Nisan. We know how flights were very limited out of Israel. I mean, some of these are real experiences that make kids grow up really quickly. Did you notice a vast difference in a lot of these young men?
For sure. Listen, they grow really nicely over the course of the year, and I think, at least educationally, one of the really strong messages our staff gives over is all about community, how we take care of each other, and what can we do for the person next to us. We say it all the way from getting each other a cup of coffee in the morning to when a war breaks out and we set up next door, we set up a carnival for almost 400 families in Baca, and they come and it's our boys just stepping up. We try to get them in a way to think about what really they could do for the person next to them.
And the truth is, I have to assume that these experiences, and this is across the board for any student, especially the North American student spending this year in Israel, I have to assume it's going to turn a lot of them on to really establishing their own roots in Israel, to understanding that the future of the Jewish people is in the state of Israel. I would have to imagine that the percentages of those who want to serve in the army and those who actually want to stick around the Holy Land is going to be much higher than a regular year.
It could be. Again, we're sorting through those numbers. It's definitely the initial feel, that we're feeling towards next year. And what a special thing, even some of us and a lot of our staff maybe came to Israel and they were a little older and already started families. And now we're talking about boys who in their quote unquote prime years, their teenage years, as they're exiting their teenage years, they're deciding that this is the most important thing they could do, and they're willing to make that leap. And that's it's a good educational message to the staff, to everyone, and really to all of Am Yisrael for the incredible things that they're doing.
Is there any specific, and I'm not asking you to reveal anybody's identity, but I'm just wondering if this theory that I have that some of these kids had a serious wake-up call, that they were, much different a month after the war started than when they weren't running to shelters. Were there noticeable differences like that, or am I making too big of a deal of that?
I think, as I mentioned before, they're so dedicated and thinking of each other and dedicated to everything that they do. And you have to remember, I think we talk sometimes a lot of the things that are highlighted are some of the amazing things that we do in the Chaylim and the Benot Shirut and everything going on. But at the same time, we're talking about people who are in the Beit Midrash learning 3 Siddharim a day. And then on top of that, are tremendously dedicated to each other, to their chesed, to Am Yisrael, to all the different things that they're doing. That I would say is special. And I would also credit, I think, over the last couple of years, you mentioned it before, the North American high schools have done a wonderful job where I think even to where they've come in, they're coming in a different place over the last couple of years, in a different mindset in terms of what Eretz Yisrael means and what Am Yisrael means to them. And then specifically at the War, sure, I think anytime you go through an experience like that, it increases. It increases maybe the feelings that we're talking about, but there's definitely been a shift recently where they know the importance, and they have just continued to step up in a tremendous way.
The North American, what you just did, crediting the North American Yeshiva high schools, as I call it, the Yeshiva League, for really stepping up, so to speak, in the last couple of years. This is a post October 7th thing, or you think it was heading in that direction even without the war?
I was actually in a quote-unquote Yeshiva League high school around October 7th, and I do think October 7th was a big switch. And as Rabbi Seif mentioned before, I think it was a big switch for us at YTVA internally too, where 8 days later is when our Hesder program was born. So I think it was almost across the world that was a big switch to this sort of mindset.
Yeah, I hear that. Also, what happened with Pesach? Was everybody? I know that obviously some of the students did not get to where they either wanted to be or were expected to be because of the whole flight situation, etc. But I would have to imagine that some of them, again, despite the fact that they may have been, displaced from family and friends and didn't follow through on their original plan, I have to assume that if they ended up spending Pesach in Israel, it was only a positive experience for them. Did you get that feeling after speaking to them after Yom Tov?
Yeah, I heard wonderful things. I think a lot of them had pushed them out of their comfort zone a little bit.
Right.
Even if it was spending family by cousins that they haven't, spent 2 weeks at. They go there for the Pesach vacation break for Bein Hazmanim. Even that is pushing them out and forcing them, or at least pushing them to go on Tiyulim and different things.
Right.
But I would say maybe even the more impressive part is that by almost a week later, every single student was back in yeshiva. So even the ones who were gone had made that effort to really get back as quickly as they could.
Very interesting. Rabbi Seif, are all your staff and administration members as popular as Reb Yehoshua?
He's definitely number one, and everybody else falls after.
Rabbi Seif knows his audience, folks. I can tell you that much. Rabbi Yehuda Seif is Rosh Yeshiva and Executive Director of Midreshet, Yeshivat Torah Vavoda, YTVA and MTVA. Yehoshua is the director of YTVA, and they are asking me to remind everybody, and I proudly do so, that they're in day one of this 2-day campaign to raise $1.25 million. As Rabbi Seif emphasized with me earlier, you don't have to do the whole 1.25. You can give anything, because anything you give is going to be doubled. So even quicker, a faster way to get to the 1.25 million and keep these amazing yeshivot and seminaries and programs going. Go to charidy.com. That's Charidy, charidy.com/TVA26. That's charidy.com/TVA26. And hopefully it'll be a very, very successful campaign. Rabbi Seif, is it around Shavuos time that things basically start slowing down and people head back for the summer break?
This year it's an early year, so Shavuos is early, so we'll have a couple of weeks really to process the year, and then usually the beginning of June, we really focus on our students having a soft landing, going to a meaningful summer experience, working in a B'nai Akiva summer camp or other types of, important ways to impact, so that the year is not just one and done also. Yeah,
good point. You guys are associated with programs that, are really effective 12 months out of the year. And obviously we're emphasizing the yeshiva and seminary this morning, but we can go through an entire list. And maybe we will one day. Maybe when we broadcast from your campus in Jerusalem, we'll have an opportunity to go through all the programs year-round that are under the B'nai Akiva umbrella and have such a major impact on students around the world, but especially those that are coming from North America. And that would be, I think, a very revealing piece of information for this audience. Also, Rabbi Seif, I said it earlier, and people obviously think I'm, just hyping things up, especially since Yehoshua is one of the people that are responsible for it. But I have to assume, based on what I'm hearing, that in fact for next year, 5787, YTVA, for example, does in fact have a record number of applicants, and therefore that'll translate into a record number of students at the yeshiva. And I mean, the numbers don't lie. It's obviously an indication and testimony that things are going really well, Baruch Hashem.
Yeah, and I'll say also what's very cool about next year is that we have, for the first time, we're going to have a Shana Dalet program. So this is a transition program for our students who have just finished the Army. And they're going to be coming back, and we'll have between 10 and 15 guys who have just finished the Army. They're going to be coming back, learning, and transitioning out to back into the post-Army world, within the auspices of our yeshiva, which is also going to be a beautiful way.
So the majority of their third year is in Army service?
Yeah, they're basically 18 months is in yeshiva, then 18 months in the Army, and then we have a whole group. And these are lone soldiers, so they have no obligation to come back to the yeshiva, right. But they want to spend another year, trying to, help their transition back.
You must be bursting at the seams.
Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. We'll be back on when we have to, do a capital campaign.
How about the women? Is the Midreshet also bursting at the seams? How are they doing?
Thank God. Record enrollment. We had, this year we had, 70 plus first year students. We had 20 plus second year students who are staying and doing Shirut Lumi, or they're learning. So we had about, almost 100 students here, and that's basically we're as maxed out as we can be. And next year is looking like we're busting at the seams again. So, and
the same theme. I mean, the same reasons that we outlined in this conversation about the yeshiva. That's why it's basically the same elements that are also seeping into the Midreshet and having the same effect on the young women over there.
Yes, a deep connection to Torah, and also a really deep connection to Chesed and Am Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael, a deep connection to the land, really thinking about how they're going to make an impact, how they're passing on, to the next generation, the Torah Yisrael, and also a deep love of Israel. A huge percentage of our students, end up making their home here, whether it's right after their year or after they go back to college and they come back, or in the future. And that's we're unabashedly religious Zionists in that way, meaning every single one of our staff members has either served in the IDF or sends their children to the IDF. There's not like we're very clear in what the ideal looks like, and and that clarity, I think, is appreciated by a lot of people in our community.
Oh, and I'm so glad you mentioned that. I said earlier that parents should include on their list how, as they investigate different yeshivot in Israel, how the yeshiva, whichever it might be, dealt with last week. But what you just brought up is also important. People should ask what type of background the staff has. Are there Rebbeim, those who, as Rabbi Seif just said, who have served, who have had roles that are, deeply rooted in both Eretz Yisrael and Medinat Yisrael? Those are really important questions. And again, not trying to start up with anybody else in any other institution. They're all wonderful, but there are advantages when you make sure that your child attends one with that type of staff and that type of programming. And I'll leave it at that. Charidy.com/TVA26. We're highly recommending it if you are a friend or an acquaintance or a stranger to TVA and to Rabbi Seif and to Reb Yehoshua Segal. No matter what category you're in, do what you can to help them get to their goal of $1.25 million in the next 24 hours, starting today and going until tomorrow. Charidy.com with a D, charity with a D, charidy.com/TVA26, charidy.com/TVA26. TVA 26. Rabbi Yehuda Seif is Rosh Yeshiva and Executive Director of Midreshet and Yeshivat Torah Avoda. Rabbi Yehoshua Segal is Director of YTVA. Rabbi Seif, I thank you very much for joining us. Good luck with the campaign. I look forward to reuniting with you in Jerusalem.
Amen. Thank you for having us on. Really,
a pleasure.
Really appreciate it.
And Reb Yehoshua Segal, I look forward to reuniting with you as well in Jerusalem.
Same here. I'm looking forward.
All righty, there you go. Make this a success, folks. Do what you can. JM and the AM audience, let's do our little part to boost them and to keep them going. They're doing a lot of really good work. I'm really, really proud. I mean, in general, B'nai Akiva, as I said earlier, gives you so much to be proud of, especially if you are, if these things that we just discussed are important to you. But what they're doing with the yeshiva and the seminary and the summer programs and everything else, just fantastic. Charidy.com/TVA26, charity with a D.com/TVA26. More coming up. You're listening to what are we up to? Wednesday morning edition of JM in the AM.